Hello and welcome to More to the Story with Molly White. I'm so glad you joined me again today for our second part of a two-part series with our special guest, Rhonda Arias, with the Oil of Joy from Houston, Texas. And we want you to be sure and tune in. We want you to invite as many people as you know to watch this series, especially today's show and, of course, last week's show, because it's going to bring some new information that I've never heard of before, about the aftermath of abortion on our society. So before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Steve Hotze with the Hotze Health and Wellness Center for being our show sponsor. And I want to invite you to consider being a sponsor of More to the Story with Molly White. This is a very important podcast that really educates the public on the abortion industry from all different kinds of angles. And we tell you more to the story than what the abortion industry and what the mainstream media will tell you about abortion. And so this is just important information to get out there across the world, actually. So we invite you to be a sponsor or even to donate to our podcast. And you can go to moretothestorypodcast.org or operationoutcry.org. And there'll be a link there that you can find that you can either make a donation or become a show sponsor. So we would appreciate that. Now I'd like to introduce my special co-host, Mary Browning. If you'll come in and say hello to everyone, Mary.
Hello. It's so good. I'm very excited about part 2 with Rhonda Arias, Molly. And we do like to mention to people that if you find yourself having an emotional reaction to the content of the podcast, please log on to operationoutcry.org for resources or call the H3 helpline at 866-721-7881. That trigger or that emotional reaction is an invitation to another level of healing, and we'd love to see you get that next level. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Mary. And I was going to say just about the second part of More to the Story with Molly White and our special guest, Rhonda Arias, is we're going to be talking about the aftermath of abortion that our guest has been finding through research. She is a research guru. She wants to know where, why, when. She wants to know all of that, especially when it comes to the abortion issue and how it affects women and men, families in our society. So we want to welcome Rhonda Arias with the Oil of Joy Ministry and welcome you back on the show, Rhonda. And we look forward to what you're going to share with us today.
Well, Molly, give me an opportunity right here to just tell you how thankful I am for you and your life and you, Mary. I know, Molly, that you bring a lot of experience and wisdom and understanding to this issue that we've been in the trenches for a few decades now.
Yep. Amen. We've been in there together, haven't we, Rhonda?
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for stepping up to the call to use this form of media. We want a discussion going. So you guys chime in whenever you are watching this and send us a message to let us know what you think.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. I just lost my train of thought, but we do invite you to make comments, to send us an email, but to comment on whatever platform you're watching this. Ask those questions, make those comments so that we can get back to you and know how this show is benefiting you. So, Rhonda, last time we were talking when you were on the show was about your work with abortion recovery, especially within the prisons, and how abortion was a root cause to a lot of the women who were incarcerated. And I think our last topic and last thing we talked about was the severity of the trauma, how it correlates with the severity of the crime. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. But I would sort of tweak that thing about what they said is that the abortion was a turning point in their behaviors. They could see that, but before doing the program, they couldn't really understand what was going on with them emotionally. They know that they were having negative effects, but they couldn't really name them. But they could see that their behaviors changed. And that would be interpersonal relationships. You mentioned drug abuse, of course. And that's what the majority of women are incarcerated for in the first place, is low-level crimes like possession. So what they were saying was that once the abortion happened, if they were doing drugs before, then that increased markedly at the time of the abortion or just after the abortion. They couldn't get along with anybody because they're just mad at everybody. Yeah. This is an anger stage of grieving that they don't know where to project it to. Project it to whoever suggested you have the abortion, whoever didn't support you and made you feel that you needed to have the abortion. Is it projected towards the abortion industry, the doctor, the person who got you pregnant, any of those things? You got to find some place for it to land. Well, once you're incarcerated, those people are out of your life. And so that anger has got to land somewhere. It's a good time to start unraveling it and see where it began. So we found that going into the prison, I don't think those women were that much different from the general population of people who have had abortions. But what I do think is that they were ready for it because they had the time on their hands. It's being in prison is, they call it penitentiary. So you do penitence while you're there. You start thinking about what went wrong and what were some of the choices that I made and when did things start to change for me. And that's how they were able to identify that the abortion was a pivotal point in their trajectory to prison.
Yes, amen. And we've talked about this on our show before. You know, are you different after your abortion than you were before your abortion? You know, is your personality, your mindset, your behaviors, those things, you know, because that way you can tell, you know, that abortion had something to do with what you're feeling and being, you know, afterwards. So that's a good way of doing that. So in the process of you doing abortion recovery and ministry and preaching, and you were finding some things about the impact abortion is having on our society that really hasn't been brought up or discussed before that I know of. Do you remember that conversation about desensitizing?
Yeah. So one of the trauma symptoms on the TSC-40, which is a validated study that we gave to 104 clients, I think it was, that in that study, one of there were actually 6 trauma symptoms that showed a direct correlation between that and the severity of crime. So we're not making this up. They're self-reports, but that is a validated self-report study. The TSC stands for trauma symptoms trauma symptoms scale, right? And so the reports on there are valid. And then what we did is we took those scaling of the trauma symptoms and we correlated it to the severity of that particular person's crime. And so that's when we found that it was definitely going up. If they had those trauma symptoms, then they were definitely more of a, shall we say, a menace to society. They committed more severe crimes. All right. And so if this is the society that we're living in, then we are doing more than just we're hurting the women that are having the abortions. but we're hurting all of society.
Mhm.
Think about if they said the drug abuse markedly increased at the time of their abortion. Well, we all know that when people are on drugs or alcohol, that they're hurting not just themselves, they're out there driving cars, they're trying to raise kids, they're hurting a lot of people besides themselves.
And they're making a lot of self-destructive behavior decisions or self-destructive decisions.
Yes.
They're really not leading a productive, healthy life,
Yeah, and they're perpetuating that in their families because, there's the old adage of hurting people hurt people.
Right.
So, in one of our studies, we saw that the women reported, and I can't remember the exact figure, but I probably have it here somewhere. But one of the things that they saw, and this is in the qualitative analysis, they told us we found out from them that we needed to track this, and that is their inability to bond with their present children. So, and I know that I experienced that. I didn't even know that was an issue until I started to get healing. And I remember one day walking into the room where my kids were, hugging my oldest daughter and touching her arm. And there was something that came alive in my fingertips because of the healing that I was getting. And I was starting to be able to feel. I was starting to be able to look into her eyes and know who she was, connect with her. And I didn't even realize that was an issue before I got healed.
Amen.
I really want to say to people out there, you have no idea what's in store for you and how wonderful it could be if you just submit yourself for a few painful weeks to an abortion recovery program.
Amen. We have said that many times on this podcast, that to come across that river, that river of healing and come into the promised land of redemption, because it's life-changing. It's totally liberating. You don't really know how much bondage you're in until you go through abortion recovery and you're healed from so much.
Yeah, and the other thing is that people that have not healed, they are the biggest advocates trying to justify their own abortion by telling other people to have abortions. So that's affecting all of society, trying to normalize something that's just not natural.
That's right.
And so if we can, the more people that can get into recovery, even if they decide it wasn't for them, it's worth trying to find out what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right. That's right.
I would really like to underscore that, what you had just said, Rhonda, in terms of at least accept the invitation to explore it, because we don't really know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And this idea that there is so much anger in our society. I have a friend that often talks about this. She's had 2 abortions in her life, but she talks about how angry she was. And she says, we have an angry society. So I keep thinking of that as you're talking about the unresolved anger, no place to go with the grief, being told you shouldn't even have a sense of loss. And we had one woman that talked about she didn't feel like she could express her grief or loss because of all the work women had done to get this right to abortion, that she would be letting so many women down if she actually acknowledged that she regretted having her abortion. And so I just want to recognize the 2 of you for being for standing and speaking out in this topic for so long. I feel privileged to be here even now, and it is so important that we have these conversations. This idea that 67% of the women that are incarcerated can find, if I'm understanding you correctly, and that was from part 1, but have a direct correlation between their abortion and their incarceration and the severity of their criminal activity. So I just wanted to pause for a minute and underscore that. So thank you.
Amen. Well, thank you, Mary. And just to reiterate on that, what Rhonda was saying, this is something I learned years ago. Of course, I was very angry after my abortion for many years. And I would be angry at anyone who tried to tell me that abortion was wrong. It would just set me off. But I have learned that the angrier a pro-abortion person is, the more wounded they are. They're wounded, they're hurting, just like you said, Rhonda. They're trying to justify something that's unjustifiable. And it's because if we can't justify what we did, have that abortion, then we have to look at the truth. And the truth is very painful. We've taken the life of our own child. And so, but if you can face the truth and go through healing, my goodness, how liberating it is, how life-changing it is. And that's what we want to invite you to do today and to help our society heal, right, Rhonda?
Yeah, let's redirect our anger at the lies, and rejoice in the truth.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to quote one of my heroes, and that is, "The truth will set you free."
Amen.
So there you go. And it is painful. It's very hard to get in. And that's why I think we had such an opportunity in the prisons, because people are at the end of their rope. They're willing to deal with the pain. But guess what? You could avoid the pain that you could avoid if you went ahead and did that anyway. If you went ahead and dealt with something that's been repressed. You cannot repress memories selectively. If you start repressing your emotions, bad things, you're also going to be repressing your ability to feel the good. The joy just seems to leave you, and you get to it. And, women get 20, 30 years down the road, and they wonder why they're so fatigued all the time, why they have no motivation, and it's from depression. And I just want to invite people to bloom.
Amen. Break out from under that heavy cloud, that heavy weight, and just experience the beauty of life.
Yeah, let's not perpetrate this to the next generation.
That's right.
All that psychological numbness does affect the next generation, with or without abortion coming into the picture for them. But being raised by a mother that can't really be present with you is going to affect the outcome of those children. So, one of the lies that I believed was that I didn't want to. I said I would be a better parent if I waited until later. But the truth was, I already was a parent. The baby wasn't born yet, and so I had the abortion in order to be responsible about my parenting, right? Well, irresponsibility came before that. But at any rate, when I realized that because that was one of the reasons why I had the abortion, once I had my children, I tried to prove to myself, it's very subconscious, but I tried to prove to myself that was a good decision. And now that I had children, I was going to show what a perfect mom I could be. Well, that kind of pressure I was putting on myself was actually being projected onto my children. So they were feeling that same pressure because of my past abortion. So it wasn't until I started getting a deep depth of healing that I realized that I was even doing that. And when I did, I know that my daughters became more connected to me, and they felt like there were less secrets between us. And today we're good friends. I'm good friends with all of my daughters, But let's not perpetrate these things to the next generation.
That's right.
That's something you might say, well, I'm fine. Are your children fine? Are the people around you fine? Are the other interpersonal relationships you have, like with significant others, with spouses, are they filled with betrayal and doubt? So and those are things.
Even in the workplace, even your behaviors in the workplace and with other people, are they fine? Are they good? Are they healthy? Are your responses good, fine, and healthy? There's a lot of self-reflection that we can do and to see, well, maybe that's not quite right. Maybe I shouldn't have responded this way. Maybe this isn't right. For me to start seeing these things about my own self, I was listening to like Focus on the Family, listening to a lot of their counseling programs. I thought, that's not me, or that is me. Whatever it is. I thought that I'm not parenting like that, or I'm not. And I started saying, well, there's something just not quite right in my own life, and where is that coming from? What is that rooted in? Which later led me through abortion recovery, which was the majority. Not all of it. Abortion is just a symptom of other problems. There was sexual trauma and those kind of things in my past. But, if your reactions are over the top or disconnected or without feeling, then maybe, we should do some self-reflection and see, where that's coming from and how can we deal with that? How can we heal from that? How can we get beyond that? So that's what we invite you to do through abortion recovery. But Rhonda, we lost Mary, but I'm sure she'll be right back. You had mentioned in an earlier conversation, about our general society, and we can see that. We can see that every day. The desensitization, the devaluation of human life, of other people, the anger, the isolation. I mean, you can just see, to me, the fruit of abortion all around us, that hasn't really been talked about or dealt with. But you had mentioned some of these things, and I kind of want to elaborate on what you're seeing and what you're learning.
Well, I'm in the process of writing this book, Beyond Belief. It's a humanitarian case for life, and to see what it is that's happening to us as a human race.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm in the process of connecting the things that I have seen in the past, particularly in that prison population, with the correlation between the trauma symptoms, the abortion, and then the crime. And then the other problem, what we did eventually too, is we developed a reentry initiative that was a female specific. And so we had to deal with a lot of the women that were getting reunited with their children, and they had to work through some of the mistakes that they had made as parents, ways that they had betrayed their children or their children's trust. And so working with that, I started to see, this is not just this woman. This is all of society. There's a whole ripple effect to everybody around them. So I've been thinking about that for a long time. I've been thinking about, I can go kind of, there's a lot that we could actually test. And there's other things that would be very difficult to test to see if there's a causation. But we can see a lot of correlations between drug use among women and the 1973 decision. We can see correlation of anger. The more that abortion has been normalized, more road rage we have, the more crime we have. Undoubtedly there's other factors in there, and that's what's difficult about the research and doing a study, because it's hard to isolate and control for all the different factors. I think we have enough information to see that women are hurting, men are hurting, families are hurting, and that there probably needs to be even more opportunity and more access.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about access
more
to
awareness, and just more awareness is what we're trying to bring.
Right.
Have awareness,
which is access. If they didn't know anything about it, they wouldn't know to try to access it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been working on. And then I also talk about, can I talk a little bit about another chapter in my book?
Yes, I would like for you to, but I want to bring up something real quick because it just came to my mind about, how abortion is hurting society, relationships, those kinds of things. But I remember talking to a woman years ago, um, that she had had an abortion and then got into a lesbian relationship. And I said, well, why? Why would you go from, a normal heterosexual to a homosexual lifestyle? And she said, because I didn't want to face getting pregnant again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I started seeing through the decades, seeing that being played out in society. We have an increase, and I'm not saying abortion is the only reason why there's an increase in homosexuality, but it is a root to a lot of that. There's
Yeah.
anger between the sexes. After an abortion, there's anger between the sexes. I never want to date another woman. I don't ever want to be with another man. We're going to go to our same sex, So I can see abortion as being part of that issue.
Yeah, we don't want any violence perpetrated against us, and we don't want that betrayal of trust. So yeah, and of course you see that a lot in the women, but at the same time, they feel so rejected by society and everybody around them that they gravitate toward. They need affection, and so they end up gravitating to women because that's all that's there.
Right. Well, in a prison system, yes, but I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's what
about
I'm talking
outside
about.
the prison. Yeah, I'm talking about
Yeah.
outside the prison system, even.
Yeah, I was just bringing it back to my homegirls.
Okay, bring it back to your home girl, which we love and care about. Yeah. So go ahead and talk about the chapter in your book.
Oh, okay. I wanted to talk about the spiritual aspects of abortion, and that's part of the book because
A few minutes left. Yeah.
okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll do a little fast cap if I can. The spiritually, whatever it is that you agree with has power over you. You have power in your own mind and your own will, but you get sidetracked by all kinds of rhetoric for many reasons. But once you agree with abortion, what you've agreed with is actually death. And so when you agree with death, it has power over you and it will follow you. And that's why people have all this self-destructive behavior afterwards. The roots of child sacrifice are about sacrificing the child so that good will come to you like from another God. And that's the roots that we find biblically. So what happens today is the same thing. You think that you're going to have more money or more opportunity, that God is going to bless you if you don't have this child.
Yeah.
And so, and what you're actually doing is agreeing with death. You're not agreeing with prosperity. You're agreeing with death. You're saying that death is better. And so these are spiritual aspects that we have to deal with when you're walking through your abortion decision. It's not just a matter of grieving the child. It's a matter of you being empowered again. For you to the powerlessness that you felt when you made that decision. And you said, you're even now saying abortion should be legal because we all need it. We don't need it.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We
So
don't need death.
better than
Yeah.
We
need life, not death. Blessings, not curses. Right, Rhonda?
And we can have it. Choose life.
Yeah.
So you use that phrase about what you believe, like what we mix our faith with. So if I don't believe I can parent now, or if I don't believe now is the best time for me to be a parent, even though I am, if I'm pregnant already, or if I believe I can do this, this is okay. This isn't what I saw myself doing right now, but I'm up to this. Then what you're saying is what we believe.
Whatever you agree with has power over you. Okay. So it can empower you or it can steal your power.
Okay. Amen. And you can carry that and it could rob your joy and rob your identity, your true identity, which, there's a Facebook page out there that deals with abortion regret. And a lot of women will come and get on there and give all the negative reasons why they shouldn't have this baby. And I always respond going, well, let's start thinking about the positives instead of the negatives. You're so focused on negatives that you're not seeing the positives. And so I start bringing up the positives, and that's kind of changing your mindset. We've got to change our mindsets. We are what we believe, right?
That's
And
the healing process. Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
But I also want to give a warning, not to be a downer, Debbie, but let me give you a warning about that, because until you start getting the healing from those decisions and you still agree, let's say the main 81% of abortions are done for economic reasons, right? So let's say what you actually believe is that you won't be able to have finances. You'll be living in poverty if you have this kid right now. And that is the reason that you agree with death, the abortion. So when you have shed blood on an agreement, that's a blood covenant. And what happens is that follows you afterwards. So there is no evidence that women who have abortions for economic reasons do better after the abortion economically.
Right.
So what I think is really happening is there's so much trauma there that it causes a person to not be as functional as someone who can function more highly and perhaps make more money.
Amen. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Rhonda. I hate that we're out of time. I would love to keep going and going, but we will have you back on again. And I certainly learned a lot today, and I really appreciate you coming on, Rhonda, and sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience and insight with us. And thank you, Mary, for your awesome, insightful questions. And thank you all for tuning in to More to the Story with Molly White. We really hope that you are learning and growing from this, and that you're sharing what you have learned with others. And please comment and let us know, how you feel about the show, and if you have any questions. And be sure and tune in again next time to More to the Story with Molly White. We look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.
Molly, I might add real